Welcome to Automotive Life. My name is Lucky, and today I have a very special guest. Now, the automotive industry has done a 180. The market has completely changed. We have banks hitting record high late payments, defaults, and deficiencies. And my guest today is one of the few people that's helping make a positive change in this industry, Mr. Alex Wilhelm, the CEO and founder of Lonebridge. Thank you so much for coming on.
No, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to talk today about Lonebridge.
So if you can, Alex, tell me a little bit about yourself and how you came around with building Lonebridge.
No, absolutely. So just in a nutshell, I've been in tech the last 20 years, and especially over the last few years in the mobility space. Lonebridge really was kind of like a happenstance because a friend of mine that's in the recovery industry, like during COVID, when there was a moratorium on actual recoveries and repos, reached out to just asked for help with how to utilize data effectively to actually tap into tow events. And after writing a small little prototype in Python to help him out and looking a little bit deeper into what's going on, and then also with my prior experience in risk management, in fintech, I saw there is something bigger at play here. And fast forward a year from last year, where we built the first prototype, and the platform is live.
Now, I know a lot of people watching this probably don't understand exactly what Lonebridge does. So if you were to explain this to somebody that's not in the automotive industry, how would you explain how Lonebridge works and how it actually helps the customer?
Yeah, so also just to define, our customers or personas we are catering to is recovery agents, it's lenders, and it's dealers. So, buy here, pay here, where we have an overlap with lenders as well. What we do is we provide vehicle events in real time or almost near time. So anything that can happen to a vehicle, is it towed? Is it involved in an accident? Is it stolen? Is it listed on, let's say, an auction site? We will let you know within about 45 minutes of the event happening. The only thing we need for that is the VIN, nothing else. Maybe the state, if you want to provide it, which helps, specifically with lenders for loan origination to help dial in where to look for the car for. But once you plug it in, we just send you notifications if something happens with the car.
Now, I think that's one of the reasons why we wanted to get you on camera and actually talk about this, because I don't think people understand that there is absolutely nothing out here like this currently right now. I remember, as me being a dealer, searching for my cars. When somebody takes off with one of my cars, I have to do my own skip tracing. I got about 30 different websites. I would copy and paste the VIN. Each one was a subscription. And sometimes, you could post something and not check it the same day, and the car's out of impound, or the car was ticketed somewhere else, and I didn't find out before they basically cleared the registers. And I was always chasing the rabbit. Where with Lonebridge, you guys basically collect all this data from, is it from all the United States?
It's all United States, and it is cross-state, which is also as far as I know, we're the only one that really doing it on that level, also with real-time reporting on top of it. But exactly what you described, and that's how we got into it, because of million data sources, where to go to, how to actually keep track even of more than just one car, and be proactive about it.
So if a banker is watching this right now and they have an auto loan portfolio of, let's say, $20 million, what do you think Lonebridge can do for them?
It helps them really with loan servicing. I think especially if you're a banker and you're watching, your rockstar team is always loan origination. And when it comes to loan servicing, there's always a huge drop off because there are no tools to really help you, because realistically the industry is super archaic. When it comes to tracking vehicles, or even trying to at some point get that vehicle back, you're really talking almost kind of like a bounty hunter scheme, where it's okay, I underwrote this loan here in Nevada. Maybe let's put it out there and see if somebody can find it. It's post-COVID, people move. You don't even know. It's if you're looking in the right state. So what we really give you, our tool, is a tool that really changes the game for you. That's the only way I can describe it, because we're really talking real-time alerts. It's if a car that you're looking for, or even a car that's on your balance sheet, if something happens to that car, you will know within 45 minutes. And that means you can pick up that car, or you were informed that it wasn't an accident, so you can get ahead of a potential write-off. So that's really what we provide, is that power that we give you with real-time data in a space where you're probably used to 30-day-old data. Maybe if you're lucky, it's 24 hours, but that's pretty much it. And 24 hours, if a car pops up somewhere, it's probably already gone by the time you even look at it.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad you brought up the loan origination, because after talking to a few subprime banks that I usually deal with, they said the same thing. Their sales department were booming. A loan origination, that was the, like you said, the rock stars of the company. But I noticed that a lot of these people are basically given either move over to collections or lose your job because that's how much the market has changed. So now I feel that whoever is doing the most in collections is going to be that rock star. And like you said, a lot of these guys are using 20-year-old technology trying to do skip tracing and finding people, and it's just simply not working. Now, for people that are watching, when a car gets towed at impound, can you explain the process and how does LoanBridge actually help speed up banks or companies finding their vehicles?
No, absolutely. I would say it's like normally it's like what would happen is the car, is being towed. Let's say like ends up at a tow yard, and the tow yard then sits on this car. Like you don't know who the owner is, or the lien holder. So normally what happens is the car sits around for 2-3 days waiting to be picked up and incur storage fees. Then at the third day, the storage yard will pull the lien information to know where to send a notification to. That already costed them $120. Then they will write you a letter and send it, let's say, to the bank that's the lien holder. A week goes by. By the time the bank receives the letter, you probably have incurred already $1,200, $1,500, $1,700 in storage fees and fees in general that accumulated. And then if you've been looking for that car, if the car was in default, it's probably already gone by that point as well. Like, and if you're not, then you owe those $1,700, which is not the greatest. What we do is because we work on behalf of the lien holder, we work on behalf of, let's say, the bank. The moment it hits the tow yard, and because we're plugged into like the data of like municipalities, of law enforcement, we send the owner, the bank, the notification and say your car is here. So if you have the process internally set up properly, you can pick up that car within 2 hours, 3 hours. The only thing you owe is the tow fee to basically get it out there, and the initial tow fee that the tow yard is charging you that got the car in. Besides that, we actually help you recover the vehicle. That it's not just disappears. We also save you like $1,500 on average just in tow fees.
I don't think that people understand how big of a deal this is because, especially even my buy here, pay here,
I didn't understand for a long time, to be honest.
Yeah, the money we spend every month going after these people and trying to get these cars. I think the biggest month I had was about $18,000 from different tow companies. I had to pick up the cars. One was actually there for 3.5 weeks, and they were getting ready to sell it, but they mailed a letter, snail mail. It took forever to get to me. It was from some small tow yard in New Mexico. And by the time I got it, I think storage was like $1,800, $1,900, but it was a $10,000 car. I paid it. I got it back. Storage, it was a nightmare. But, the fact that you can get that notification within 45 minutes of it actually being towed or impounded is huge. And that's, like I said, one of the reasons why I love LoanBridge, because I remember when you first told me about it, I was like, there's no way. They can't be this. Yeah, because we've been talking about like these crazy things that we've been using and tracking it on different platforms, like I said, copy and pasting VINs. Yep. But so far, as far as I know, you guys are literally the only company that does it.
Yeah, in the time frame, in the real time aspect, we absolutely are the only company. It's like there are other like providers as well, and you can, because we are pooling to an extent also publicly available data. Like what we just do is we really make it easy for you that you just set and forget. Like you upload your list, and also just to really drive that point home as well, it's like it is just data. There's no device involved. There's no GPS tracking. It's like we really use, the only thing we need is the VIN. Everything else around is metadata that we can find with that car with proprietary API integrations, and then, as I mentioned before, municipalities and law enforcement. So yeah, it's like this is really like something where we just harness the power of like what we can do with data and just like let you know as a consumer.
Now, one thing I'd like to, I guess, get your clarification on, I remember we talked to a few banks and they were like, okay, we'll put our underperforming loans in LoanBridge. But you said, no, wait, I want you to put all of your data in there. Yeah. Why is that?
Well, it's also just to create like the history and everything that you want maybe in the future, that you have like access to that in the future, because we're really talking about like the active portfolio, like loans that potentially like, or they haven't fallen behind yet. You have the defaults, and then you also have what a lot of people forget about, the charge-offs, like vehicles where, they're already written off, they're already a loss, but they're still out there. You hold that paper in a drawer somewhere, and but it doesn't help you anything because you don't have the car. So what we basically tell them is, because we provide not only active or real-time events, but we also about 90% of the time can also provide historical data. And depending on like what data sources we use, it can be that like a historical event pops up. Once a car is released, that event goes away because it's being purged from a municipality webpage. We retain that information then for the lien holder, that like in the event of like you really have to resort to skip tracing in the future, that you can pull from that personal information of your inventory of your cars separately.
Now, I remember when we weren't on air, you were telling me a few stories about how banks kept only putting in their deficiency or their basically the late performing portfolio, but they started getting a lot of hits with their current portfolio because, you know, I think now that we're going into recession, everybody's having a hard time paying their bills. They're letting their tags expire. We're seeing cars towed away. We're seeing tickets being given. I know we've seen more cars that were never registered ever before and like at auction being repoed, you know, cars that they bought in 2020, 2021. So for banks or dealers that are watching this, how critical do you think it is for putting cars that are, even though they're making payments, they should know about, you know, actually putting those cars into LoanBridge as well, if the loan is performing?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's like absolutely crucial because like it's your inventory. You should know what's going on, and I really want to like highlight there as well. This is not just about like repossessions or like, you know, taking basically cars away from people, or like trying to facilitate that like in a more efficient way. This is about inventory management. This is about knowing that like that you're up to date on what's happening to like your asset, your paper that you underwrote. Because like if you're talking accidents, if we're talking, you know, it's like theft, those are things you probably as a lien holder, as an underwriter, want to be aware of, that you like, you know, that this just happened. Like it's nothing you really have to do, but at the very least you are informed. Because most likely if it was a theft, there's a high likelihood that now the title is going to get branded, which means you're, you know, it's going to have obviously an impact on the vehicle value.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's like if a vehicle was involved in an accident, yeah, most likely vehicle value is affected. But it sucks, but you know.
Yeah.
Like it gives you, it's like if you really set up your internal processes as well to start harnessing that data, then, you know, you are ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like, how is your overall portfolio performing, which then helps you again in return, like going back to risk management and, you know, potentially applying that data cross-functionally, like can help you with calculation as well on like how to underwrite loans in the future in certain regions as well.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing as we're going into this recession. I think banks are going to start chasing more of their dead deals, their charge-offs, because like you said, once they're done, they just kind of send them off in a drawer, but it's free money. And I know we've used the app and we've found cars kind of all over the place, left, abandoned, towed in certain places. And so I think focusing on that as well as their performing loans, because I remember Allstate published that they had a record amount of people actually cancel their policies or were canceled because people couldn't afford their insurance premiums. And I think that if car accidents keep happening, that banks need to know about it because they can get very proactive, find out if the car is sitting at a shop, if they don't have insurance is not paying for it, they need to pick it up. So there's multiple reasons why I think that banks are going to be very, how do I say it, strategic with signing up with LoanBridge in the future because, like I said, it's going to get really bad. I think the economy is going to tank.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all agree, or like people that are probably watching this podcast and like interested in also what we're doing is, I think we all agree that the earthquake, like that is like, you know, high interest rates, it's like people being underwater with cars or like with the loans, the earthquake already happened. Like we're just looking at 2024, 25, we're just waiting for the tsunami to hit.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, like that's, you know, but it's not all bad. Like I don't want to be the doom and gloom prophet here, just like, oh my God, we're gonna like repo cars. But it's almost kind of like raising interest rates. It's like something has to happen where just the inefficiency of the system has to change. You know, that's why like track the whole inventory, because I was flabbergasted, to be honest, to see like how backwards to an extent, like it is accepted to have like assets that, like, I think at this point we're talking $1.5 trillion in car loans that are in like active in the US and being serviced. That basically the best thing that people can say is like, oh yeah, it's out there. Like, well,
yeah.
Okay.
No, I remember us talking to a bank that had, you know, maybe let's say $30 million under management. And we asked like, what was their collection process? And it was like 2 people and an iPad and they were working from home. I'm like, and these are the people that are in charge of protecting your $30 million portfolio? They're like, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
people don't believe it like when we talk about this stuff, and there's nobody really out there that explains how the banking industry actually collects auto loans. Everybody's so set on mortgages and they put this priority on it. But I think the auto
And
loans,
mortgages are easy, right? Because I
yeah,
mean,
the house don't go anywhere
yeah, the house can
unless
go
the tornado
anywhere.
picks it up.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like you know, like the house is there, but a car, it's movable by design.
Yeah.
And then you're not even talking about cars. If you're talking mobile homes, if you're talking, you know, and if we go later into as well, potentially boats or anything else that has a VIN, how do you pick those things up and how do you keep track of it?
Oh, yeah.
And that's literally what we provide here is the information that you can make a decision on top of it. That's really the powerful aspect of it, because you know, just saying like, oh, there's nothing out there is just not enough. Like
Yeah.
that's just not an excuse, honestly. And you know, especially in a market like this, coming, as I mentioned previously, from risk management and like how efficient everything is there. And like, you know, normally it's like fairly well dialed in to just say like, oh, we have an asset that's $30,000 worth. We just don't know where that is. And maybe it will pop up, maybe not, maybe tomorrow, maybe in a year from now, or maybe never. Because, you know, it's like if you really then start diving into fraud, like, you know, putting mechanics liens on cars and then just like disappear, you know, title fraud as well on top of it, like nobody really helped banks with that, like on a broader scale. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And at the end, like Lonebridge is the end of that. It's like, we just had to build it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I like the fact that you brought up risk management, because we talked about it before, like, oh, are you a collection software or this? It's like, no, we're risk management software. How would you, I guess, dive a little deeper into actually labeling Lonebridge as risk management software?
Well, it's like, I would say we're starting out with the tow events, because that's really like an actionable like event or an actionable trigger that we can provide to, you know, it's like our customers to say like something happened here, start there. But also as part of the process, you know, you being able now to recover cars, and you can prove in certain regions how you recovered cars, and you start seeing what's really the distribution between loan origination and where did you pick up the car in a different state? Is there like really cross-pollination now between, you know, a lot of people left California, ended up in Texas or Florida, like how many cars actually end up here versus over there? And then really start using that data and helping you really understand that data to start applying that to new loan, loan origination.
Yeah.
You know, it's like really saying like, okay, Nevada, it's a high likelihood we can recover a car if it goes into default. And that's like with the if, right? Like we don't want cars to go into default.
Yeah.
But if something happens, we want to be able to do something about it. But then really look market to market and say, like, oh, this can now actually affect interest rates. Because you can say, I can actually lower my interest rates here because I know, like, if something happens, I can pull the car.
Yeah.
Or I can lend out more in this market because I know, it's like, yeah, the likelihood of getting the car back is way higher than it would be in a different region where there's less coverage.
Okay. Well, let me explain to some of the people that are watching. Banks are all about offsetting their risk. That's how they calculate interest. So when we talk about risk management software, he's able to help them move the needle back the other way, where they can actually start reliably collecting their cars in certain markets and also, I guess, certain industries. And it'll give them the how do I say it? It'll give them the security that they feel confident to lower the interest rates a little bit. So this is actually a good thing. I know a lot of people are thinking, oh, well, it's a collection software that's going to hurt people and maybe help repo cars. But at the end of the day, if the banks have less risk, they pass that savings on to the customer.
Yeah.
So now that we're having record high repos and late payments and everything else, now we're seeing the regular average new car interest rate is 11%. It's nuts, you know, to buy a brand new car, you know. So I know people that won't even do that, and they keep saying when interest rates are going to go down. Even if the Fed, I think, lowers rates, the fact that we're having so many people default, this is what the banks are going to do. They're going to offset their losses by raising interest rates to the people that are actually paying.
Yeah, and it's like interest rates. It's the same thing as credit card interest rates. It's insurance.
Yeah,
that's what's priced into it. It's like, what's the default? What, you know, it's like roughly like how it's going to go. The problem is right now, it's like that's why I mentioned the earthquake before. Is like we had high interest rates. Like then the pandemic completely screwed up pricing mechanics, because like I think it was up to 150%, 160%.
Yeah, 160.
That like car loans being underwritten, that now the cars are underwater, you can't sell them, and so what are you gonna do? Like somehow the banks have to cover it's like their potential losses. That's why the risk management aspect, it's like, but how do you even quantify it?
Yeah.
And that's what we want to help with. It's just like, let us help you grade your paper. Let me say, like, let us help you to see where you at currently in the market. Can we help you like with the recoveries? And then, I'm not sitting here saying like, oh my God, this is amazing that we help basically recover cars. It's like, but also a bank wants, at the end of the day, wants to see you sit in that car until the end of the loan, because that's how the loan was calculated in the first place. They want you to drive the car and have it, and then at some point sell it. So nobody is like happy if a car needs to be repossessed. But what we're trying to do is really, like, as you mentioned, help offset the risk, and then hopefully once we get through this like really trial period that we're in right now, like trials and tribulations of 2024 and 25, then we'll have like really positive impacts like on interest rate, on the market, as part of like what we provide as a service, because it was just never available before.
Yeah.
It was just never possible. And that's what I'm excited about. That's kind of like the long-term vision.
That's awesome. Well, I know you have a new product, and I don't know if we could talk about it a little bit, the Loan Bridge report. Are you able to talk about it a little bit?
No, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Loan Bridge, it's a vehicle history report. So it really pulls in the information of like lien holder, sales, current value, like rough, like the estimation of the values, like low, mid, and high, recall, thefts, and brands on the title. And that really came out of customer discussions, because like, if you're a dealer, it's highly valuable for you to know, it's like, what's happening with the car, even if you just want to plug the VIN into like the platform and just quickly check like what went on before, right?
Yeah.
If you're a lender, if it really comes to a recovery, then it's really good always to reconfirm. Okay, so you got a hit on that car. Do you want to pick it up? Confirm first that you're still the lien holder. Yes, we're there. Okay, then go move and do whatever you have to do to basically get that car back. But we just saw one, as you probably know as well, data is normally very expensive in the area that we're in. And we made the decision, like, given the customer feedback we had, to just price it into the platform. So you get free reports as part of like the pricing tier that you sign up with, and you can pull then monthly reports on your inventory as well.
No, that's awesome. Like, I don't know if people realize how critical it is to actually get lien holder information, because even as a dealer for 20 years, you have to call the DMV. And most times they won't even confirm with you. You have to call the bank, and then sometimes you can't even get a hold of them. So to actually run it and see who the actual lien holder is and call them directly is huge, especially with all the title fraud and the fake things we kind of talked about before. Fraud has never been higher, and any tool that dealers can use to help offset this, as well as bankers, because I remember, can they get a notification if the lien changes from one person to another?
So currently that's not in there. It's like, it's something we could do as kind of like a future feature extension. Right now, it's like we just seen like the manual confirmation was like more desirable, because we already provide the trigger, like if there's an event. So the event would be then did something change here? Because like, if something is listed, let's say on a car rental site, or like on an auction site, then that would be suspicious.
Yeah.
Same thing is like what we're trying to get into platform right now specifically are public announcements in regards to mechanics liens, because normally that would be a very strong trigger to say like something iffy is about to happen or already happened. Because if it popped up at the auction and you still think this is an active loan, well, why is it at the auction? If it's a mechanics lien, it's just like, why is somebody trying to pull the title, essentially, right? It's like there is some iffy stuff.
Yeah, way too many red flags. I think I know that's one thing that you guys are doing, because we kind of talked about this off air, and a lot of these software companies, once they build it, they just set it and forget it. Where you guys are constantly adding new features, new options, new data points. We kind of went quite in depth of different places to get information, but do you want to touch base on that?
I mean, it's for me, it's just like, sorry that I'm laughing, but it's like funny that I have to like highlight that I guess it's just the sector we're in, or like the automotive, because like we really, my background is, it's like software, like Silicon Valley, fast-paced startup life and startup software. And that's just built into it, that, you constantly improve the software. It's not like you're just building something. It's like, oh, this is kind of working, and you stop and you just sell what you have. Like, no, we constantly striving to improve like what we have. And that's why the Loan Bridge vehicle report was a direct response, because people asked us, well, it would be great to have this. And it's like we used Carfax and we used maybe something else before, and it's just not really working for us 100%. And we just like, okay, then let's just build this into the platform because it makes sense in context. What you mentioned before is like everybody has 3 or 4 different portals that they pull up. Everything is manual, and it's just like how.
Yeah, we don't know how old the data is.
No, it's like
awful.
it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So it's like what we really do at Lonebridge is streamline it and really bring it together that it's always context specific. If there's a trigger, you'll have something that like, okay, you probably want to know now, I'm a lien holder. Well, here's a button. You click on it, you get that.
Yeah.
If there's going to be a mechanics lien, it's like a public announcement popping up. You're like, what's going on? Well, here's the context. You can just like immediately follow up on. And so we will never stop improving the platform. And it's really a standard SaaS model where as a software as a service, you pay for the subscription, and once a new feature is released, it's just bubbling basically into like the platform, and you just get to benefit from it.
Well, I know you told me a little bit about some custom options you made for a title loan company as well as a bank. Do you do kind of special applications or special things if a bank or a lender requires it?
Yeah, no, we absolutely do. So because we have standardized plans from like recovery agents where we even offer like special plans starting at like $100 a month just to be able to like, utilize it immediately, all the way up to like really custom enterprise integrations ranging to like millions of VINs that we can track on the platform. So we can really, really track large inventories as well across state, like on a continuous basis. And that normally comes with specific like requirements around like the process, how it's being handled on the back end in the bank or even a larger lender. So that's long answer to saying like, yes, we absolutely help with integrations, because we also see there is some kind of like aspect of coaching involved as well sometimes, because, most data in the market right now is 30 days old or 24 hours old. So some of the internal processes might not be set up correctly or like really efficiently to say like, even if we give you now real-time data, can you actually follow up on this? And we can do that, like help custom, like really on our end to help custom integrations, also help like tweaking with the data. And we do have an API that people can plug into right away. Or we also utilize partners in between that can also streamline that kind of like aspect of it.
Now, how many VINs can you guys process? Because I remember you saying you have a few lenders that actually have 1 million VINs. But like if a bank were to call you today and say, hey, look, I need to add another 1 million, is processing 1 million VINs every day a headache or a problem? Or?
No. That's what we built the platform for. It's like it was always from the ground up built at scale. That's why it's like if you look on our webpage, we don't cover 100% of the United States. We do most of the cases, but not at scale. So everything that's listed that we support really means we can service essentially every single VIN that's ever being like underwritten eventually like on the platform. It's just like scaling it up, but that's what we're doing. That's our bread and butter, is really large scale data and helping with that.
So I want to go back to the software, because when we were offline, we saw how basically once they enter VINs, things start popping up. They start getting messages and funny notifications where I saw there was tows, impounds, police impounds, federal impounds. How many alerts does the Lonebridge system have?
That's a good question. I mean, at the end of the day, I would say almost kind of like infinite, because and that's kind of the cheeky answer, honestly, because like a lot of like the reasons or the events that come in are free form that somebody puts in. There's like a lot of standardized stuff like a private property impound, it's like a repossession that comes through, but it's really anything you can imagine like a vehicle can experience. And we are not restricting the information that's being passed through to you as a lender. We just give you what we find. And there are, of course, some kind of like aspects of normalization to the data, because we just have to do that, but and standardize it around a certain like data package. But otherwise, it's like whatever can happen to that vehicle, and you'll know.
Yeah. Well, I like the explanation you gave me of the police one, because there was a car that was impounded by the police, but you told me that there was a few things that pop up with police impounds.
Yeah, there are a couple of things where it's like one that is just being like used or is being like towed by the police. So it's like if it ended up in a police yard, that you don't incur any storage fees. So that's a good thing. Or it's like if it was, let's say, potentially involved in a crime, or it's being held for evidence, that okay, that car probably is going to be gone for a while, depending like on investigation. But those are kind of like the aspects, like when we touched on earlier, it's like, why should I put the whole inventory in? Because now you know.
Yeah.
Like that's the aspect. Before you didn't.
Yeah, you never
now
know
you
who's going to get
But now
arrested
you know.
for
And
why. Yeah.
yeah, but you also know that probably that car is gone for a while. It's very different. Like if a car ends up in police custody versus a tow yard, because you know, tow yard, you go there, you pay the bill, you take it out. Like police custody is like whatever goes on in the background. And I want to be sensitive here as well, because we of course don't divulge like what happened to the car, or you know, it's just like we get that information from law enforcement, we pass it on to the lien holder. Sometimes it might be it's not publicly available information because we know we're dealing with the lien holder, so we can give them that information. But also, I want to stress again that there is no PII involved. It's really just about PII, you know, personally identifiable information. We're not in the business of tracking people. We're in the business of tracking cars and knowing that what happens to the car for the owner to make the decision to move on.
So one thing I want to touch on is repos are basically hit an all-time high, and it's getting nuts. And I remember back in 2008, it got so crazy that there was only so many repo guys out there to actually pick up these cars. And banks need to be very aggressive, because I remember telling them, you know, back in '08, they need to do something. And they were like, oh, it's okay. Everything's the same. It's been traditional, everything else. But all of a sudden, repo guys doubled, tripled in price. A lot of skip tracing guys were busy. So I think now is probably the best time to get set up. And I guess kind of get your opinion on how LoanBridge can help and what you see with picking up cars from actual repo yards.
No, I think that's a very good point. And like, you know, it's like if you think back, and as you just mentioned, like '08, there was, you know, already like prices doubled and tripled. And that was with, we could say it's like an intact market on the repo side. 2020, 21 decimated the repo space to an extent, because, you know, there was a hold put on recoveries. So a lot of these people, like a lot of the specialists, just had to leave the industry. They just couldn't pay their bills. So now that it's back, like you really have a shortage on like with recovery agents. On top of it, it's like it's also not the safest job. So that's where I really feel like good about what we can provide and help recovery agents with. Is just optimize their time and safety on top of it. Because like if a car pops up in a tow yard, it's way easier and way safer to pick up a car at a tow yard than it is like at a, you know, a private address where reality is you get attacked, like things happen, like people get killed in that line of work, and we can really help just completely like circumvent that, and that's I think is a huge plus that we can offer. And we've seen also just like with recovery agents and companies using our software, it's also just a passive income they get on top of it, because they don't have to actively look for certain cars, or they just get another 5 to 10 cars a month just by exposure.
Yeah.
Which you know has been great, just like seeing that, like really helping the industry on that front.
I remember you telling us a story about a few of the repo agents actually using the software to help pick up some of these lenders' cars. Mm-hmm. And I remember you weren't offering it to lenders right away, but you decided to go ahead and open up the floodgates. Was there a reason for that?
Yeah, really, because we just saw lenders had a bigger demand, like a bigger like demand for it than we even anticipated. Like showing lenders what we could do, and like that's, you know, specifically subprime to mid-prime banks and buy here pay here dealers, which with like larger inventories, they just got it. They just like, yeah, this makes sense for me to be able to just like recover a car or make sure that my money is safe. With the recovery agents, like the ones that are really on top of it, they jumped on the platform immediately. And that's why I know it's like it's 5 to 10 cars a month that they pick up just like separately, you know, without extra effort. They just get a ping, they get the email notification. They're like, okay, I'm going to go there, pick the car up.
Yeah.
With buy here, pay here dealers, I wish it wouldn't be true, but like they're, you know, the ones out there that just using the platform, they sell the car. And within 24 hours, I kid you not, they get the ping that the car was already towed.
Yeah.
So this is now also an interesting like example of like what to do. So the car theoretically is not behind on the loan, but it's incurring storage fees. So what some buyer pay dealers do is just like pull the car back to the lot just to get it out of there, so it's not, you know, incurring like more fees.
Yeah, save your customer money,
save
secure your vehicle.
Just like call the customer, say, hey, we have your car back here. Just like pick it up, bring basically the money for the tow fee, and you know you back on the road. And that happens way more often than I even thought would happen. The other thing as well is like franchise dealers, like specifically when you're talking new cars, is, you know, with the trial period, like once you drive off the lot until you register the car, if something happens to that car, I think it's a maximum of 30 days, but correct me if I'm wrong. If that car ends up in a tow yard, nobody would know where to even send a notice to.
Yeah.
Because there's no registration. So what, and the lien owner, like hasn't been processed yet. So it's really like literally a car that's like worth 30 to up to like $100,000 or more, you know, in limbo sitting somewhere. Since we're just using the VIN, you'd still get that alert from us. So you can pull the car back, or you just like, oh, something happened here. So these are like really the interesting use cases that we've opened up. We're seeing now is like why people jump on it.
Now, if people wanted to sign up, I know you guys have a 14-day free trial. How would they go about signing up and also getting a free demo?
Yeah, so it's loanbridge.ai. Just like go to the webpage. We offer, as you just mentioned, 14 days free because we believe the proof is in the pudding. You know, the black magic, like that we basically apply to the data. You just like we tier it by VIN amounts. Basically, active VINs are being tracked, so it's all on the webpage. You just click on it, sign up, put your credit card in, and then 14 days it's free. You can cancel anytime. We don't you know require you to like sign up for a year or 2 years or anything else. If you're an enterprise client, and normally, you know, that's like up to like 1,500 to 2,000 VINs is normally what you know, self-service basically on the webpage. If your enterprise clients are really talking, you know, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, even million of VINs, just contact us directly, like also through the webpage, and we set up a demo with you and walk you through as well. You can also always book a demo on the webpage. It's like always happy to show the platform. Like I jump on with you, or one of our other employees will like walk you through it. And with enterprise, we also normally allow for a 30-day data trial that you really are, you know, convinced that it's working. And we even, during the data trial, we like aim normally at like tracking up to like 100,000 VINs through that period.
No, I remember we talked a little bit about like when you're doing the demonstration and stuff like that. It's very cool because especially subprime lenders, it's going to light up like a Christmas tree. You're just going to get alerts, all the history reports from 60 days ago. But I remember we kind of had this funny consensus that like some people were like waiting for an email, and we're like, hey, if you don't get an email, that's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. Like none of your cars have ended up in a tow yard. Where I know we had a little bit of, because we'd like to try everything out and just see how it works. And some people are like, oh, I put 30 VINs in there and I didn't get a hit yesterday. It's like, well, that's a good thing. Your car hasn't been towed or crashed or burned or whatever the heck it happens. And so how do you explain the fact that, like, I know banks are going to see it right away, but I know that originally your intent was to market to independent dealers and stuff like that. What would you say to them if they were to upload, you know, 50 to 60 VINs, smaller buy here, pay here a lot, how they could basically turn around their business, justify? What do you think it would be monthly for like a 60 VIN dealer?
For a 60 VIN dealer, it's just like $100 a month.
Yeah, so it's the cheapest insurance I could possibly think of, but I would like just to hear from you, like, how would you say
I mean, that's exactly what you said. Like, really see it as an insurance policy. That's why we say it's like we're a risk management platform, and risk management as part of it is insurance. It's like if we go back to the interest discussion, right? Like it's insurance priced into like the prices. So it's really like as a dealer, you know if things happen to the car. If you're 60 VIN, like buy your pay your dealer, car gets towed after you sold it, like a week later, you know. Pull the car back, you know, because potentially that's if the car sits at the tow yard for a week or two, nobody picks it up, and then you have to bail it out for $1,700. That might be the car. That might be the car value completely like gone.
Yeah, to me it's a no-brainer because it's like $1,200 a year. That's one car. You're gonna get one car. If anybody's in the buy here pay here business, you're gonna get at least probably about 10 cars a year minimum getting impounded or crashed or whatever else.
No, and that's exactly the thing. And plus, it's like you don't really have to do much. It's like the platform is designed to set and forget. Like you upload your VIN list, that's it, and you get an email if something happens, and then you just follow up on it. So it's insurance. It's like that you can sleep at night, and if something happens at night, you'll also know.
Yeah,
it might wake you up, but you know at least you know again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think as you mentioned, it's just like it's just one car. It's probably even less than one car. Like once car values, like once you step up to 2,500, $5,000, you know, 10 grand, like and so on. So yeah, it's in my mind as well. But you know, obviously I'm biased. It is a no-brainer. And the ROI will be there probably within the first month.
Yeah, and then does that also come with a handful of Lonebridge reports?
Yeah. So we stagger them basically up. We have three plans right now. It's 100, 250, and 500 a month, and they come with 10, 25, and 50 reports respectively, like each that you can pull per month for free, like straight from the hot sheet, basically the win sheet that you have it in there.
Yeah, even that's cheaper than running 5 Carfaxes anyways.
Yeah, so it's kind of like you either pay for the reports and you get the event platform for free, or the other way around. Like,
either way.
but together, I think it's a really great offering, and we really build it, it's like with scale in mind, to be able to offer these prices and to be able to say, like, let's just really change this industry a little bit. Like, this is not going to be a $30,000 subscription a year that nobody can afford. Like, no, we want to help the small dealers. We want to help the recovery agents. We want to help the banks, small to large, it's like credit unions to like subprime, mid-prime lending, like all the way up to like tier 1 banks as well, to the OEMs, because it was just like never available before like we really started kind of like tying it together. And it's like if you price it out of the market, then like also nobody's going to use it, it's also useless.
Yeah.
So
100%. Well, that's one of the things I want to talk about is proof of concept. Now, I know you can't say specific names, but I know you have very large title loan companies. You have a few large prime, subprime, and a few credit companies. How does that feel actually? Because I know you guys closed this within 6 months of actually opening. And now that you're getting feedback, what does that feel like knowing that basically you have the proof of concept down and now you can start to see that? Because I remember you said like originally it was for independents, but now every bank that sees it just signs up.
Yeah. No, I mean, one thing is it feels good, to be honest. It's kind of like nice to build software, also coming from the Silicon Valley space a little bit, where you just build for the sake of building, and then it's like there's not a product market fit there. Given like how the whole platform originated, coming from an actual need from a friend that has a recovery business, we already knew that's why we built it out further, because we built the prototype, we turned it on, and within like the first hour of turning it on, we find 5 cars. So I'm just like, okay, there's definitely something here. And then like, well, if it works for us here, like on a smaller scale, it should work on a larger scale as well. And but as anybody knows, it's like that ever started a business, it's getting the word out, like hence why we're here.
Yeah.
And really trying to explain like the value prop. But it's been great seeing people really get it. It's been great seeing like the impact we already done in the market, and like the word of mouth with the people that we worked with. It's like it has been a joy actually to work with everybody, and that we have it already spread across. From OEMs to, as you mentioned, title loan companies, all the way into buy here, pay here dealers and lenders in general, speaks volumes and really shows for me as well that there is a need. And the need is just going to grow, and we're just going to build out more features, to help people keep on growing.
Yeah, I wish we could have had some of the film from NADA when people were explaining like what Lonebridge does, and they're just like, it can't be real. It doesn't work like that. Where are you getting the data? There's some sort of like you said, black magic behind the scenes.
Yeah, and it's like also just like obviously it will work in certain areas better than other areas, like more dense, metropolitan areas. Like I don't want to say this is like the miracle cure for everything, but I'm very proud of like what we and like the team built in just over the last 6 months, like in terms of coverage, in terms of like everything we get in, and to be really upfront, like you're looking probably, and anybody that's watching that has experience with it, between a 1 to 3% hit rate. That's like roughly like what you're looking at. But with the real time aspect, that means that's a recovery you can pull off. You can actually get. So that's already great. But yeah, it's like really we're just gonna expand and just make sure it's gonna get better and better and better. But we already seen with like live customers, this is not just we think it's gonna work that way. No, we've seen actively in the market across all these different segments that it is working.
Yeah, I know that you said you go cross-state because that's a big thing where we talk to a lot of repo companies, or when banks, they're like a lending institution in California, they just kind of stay in their bubble. So the fact that you guys cross state lines and get data from pretty much different states or all states. And then I know you said you had a map also on the website.
Yeah.
It kind of gives you a breakdown of coverage and
whole coverage map, including like municipalities and like cities is really like set up there. And yeah, it's like the cross state aspect was like a no-brainer for me. And I think it is, if you really flip this whole thing on its head, because like how it was done before, we discussed like, well, you have like a recovery agent go out there driving with a license plate recognition system, maybe gets a hit, maybe not, or you get a notification. It's like the chain, how it worked before. It made sense to do it like, or look at it on a per state basis, because you have, where was the loan originated? You probably have a servicing, you need like your recovery agents bonded, you know, that you can actually utilize them and so on. But since we already know who you are and you give us the VINs, we can look anywhere. Doesn't really matter to us like if this happened here or there. It's then up to you, like with your internal process, to follow up. Like, who do you call? Like, you thought the car is in Nevada, turns out it's in Florida. Well, call your bonded recovery agent in Florida and say, like, pick up the car right here. Here's the repossession affidavit. Here's, you know, the no harm. Here's the title copy. Go.
Yeah, well, I know you gave us that demonstration. We saw the large prime bank. How fast from when they got the notification to when they picked up the vehicle?
Yeah,
was
it's
that?
like we actually have it down now. It's like if the process is optimized within the bank, and that's the if, right? Because like a lot of people not set up for that, within 3 hours of the alert. So within 3 hours, of the car hitting the tow yard, like it's recovered and it's back at where it should be.
No, that's huge. I mean,
that's
So real quick to recap, how do people find LoanBridge and yourself, and if they want to book a demo, and how they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, the easiest way to get a hold of us is through the webpage. That's loanbridge.ai, like the loan and the bridge, and how it's basically behind me for the last 30 minutes or so. And you can book a demo there. It's like non-committal. We just walk you through it, either with me or with one of our specialists, to just really show you how it's working. Best way is just come with a VIN list. Like we can show you already like how it's like, you know, gonna impact your overall business on your current paper. Everything is on the webpage. You can sign up for the demo. You can sign up for a trial account. Like, it's 2 weeks free. So there's no commitment necessary like beyond that as well. And even after you sign up, it's month to month. So we don't lock you in like a year plan. And we also have a live chat on the webpage. So you can always click on it and just like talk with either myself or, as I mentioned, one of our specialists.
And then is the free trial also for enterprise customers as well?
For enterprise, like just like reach out through the contact form. For enterprise specifically, we offer 30 days free, up to 100,000 VINs. So really to give you a good cross-section and apples-to-apples comparison to what you potentially have already in place, or also just to show you, like, well, this is what we can provide for you in the regions that you're operating. May it be just a local, operation, or it's like a state, like nationwide operation.
Very nice. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. And if they want to get a hold of you personally, is it better just to go through the site, or can they email you directly?
Site, you can also email me at alex@loanbridge.ai. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm not too responsive on Instagram and Twitter, but like LinkedIn normally, or the webpage. It's very easy to get in contact with me.
Awesome. Well, thanks again.
No, thank you for having me. This was fun.